Tammy was pregnant with Lindsay, and we started to suspect that Arnold and CHASITY were involved. I think Tammy knew, but I think she wrote it off because she really didn't want to believe it. For one, that was her cousin, you know, and not just her cousin, but this was her sister in faith. So she wrote it off to a lot of things. You know, I'm pregnant, I'm probably more emotional. She second-guessed it and didn't really listen to her gut.
When I think about what happened, it makes me feel very angry. How dare you mess with somebody's husband? And then first of all, him too. How dare you mess with her? How dare you do that?
When I first got the call, it came from my boss. I remember him on the phone. "Hey, Lieutenant, you got to get up here right away. This place is a mess." And it's there that I learned about the tragic, almost indescribable death the night of the incident. Tammy was home with her children. It had been a rainy, stormy night. The children had their own bedrooms up on the second floor. Sometime later that night or early morning, they left their beds because they were scared of the thunder and lightning. They climbed in with Mom. At 3 or 4 in the morning, she heard people inside her house. 911 call was placed. EMTs and Windsor PD arrived shortly thereafter. At the scene, there was a sizable amount of blood on the stairwell. Some drippings in the corridor, as well as the walls. We had seized as evidence a Casio G-Shock watch. And then she stated to us what happened.
So we'll go at your pace.
Okay.
Hey guys, ABC, common mark.
I'm Tammy Kyler. I was married to Arnold Kyler. We had 2 children together, Jarrell and Lindsay. This is the first time that I've ever spoken about this on camera. July 9th, 1998, my life would forever be changed. We were asleep, and the next thing I remember is waking up to what sounded like some air coming through a door. I just got up and went to close the door, and somebody started walking towards me. I turned around to run back to my room, and he tackled me to the floor, and he put his hand over my nose and mouth. All I could smell was gasoline, and told me to shut the F up and nobody would get hurt. I'm pinned down, not able to move or say anything. I could hear a second person walk straight ahead towards the stairs. But then the person comes back downstairs and walks into my bedroom. I start to try to struggle. I don't know if this person is here to rape me, to kill me. But then I hear my son Jarrell say, "What are you doing?" Then I hear Lindsay whimpering. So I know something, I know she's being hurt. I was able to pull a glove off, pulled his watch off, and his hand slips off my mouth. And I say, my kids, please don't hurt my kids." He yells, I'm out. And he leaves and runs out the door. And then the second person doesn't say anything, doesn't look at me, and just walks out the door. So I run to the door and I lock it. And then I enter my room through the living room. And then I see all this blood gushing out of Lindsay's forearm. And I grab a towel and put it on that wound. And then we turn around and I see Jarrell. And I'm like, Jarrell, get up. Jarrell, wake up. He's face down on the bed. And I kind of touch him and he doesn't move, so I turn him over. Then at that point I just start screaming. I'm screaming and screaming. And I make it to the phone to call 911, and I'm like, I'm screaming and I'm screaming. They killed my baby. They killed my baby! killed my baby, they killed my baby, they killed my baby. You know, different people are coming in, they're in the room working on Jarrell. But I know he's not, he's not, there's no way he could have made it.
Gerald was found under bed, and his throat was slashed wide open. Blood on the mattresses in the master bedroom, and a 2-liter bottle filled with gasoline.
How can you do something like that? This was the age that it happened. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry that I'm crying, but it makes me so sad because he was only 7 years old.
It didn't make sense. Why would they kill a kid? You know, why would they kill an innocent child who had nothing to do with anything? I was thinking they were the devil. They had to be.
The head of the forensic lab, Dr. Henry Lee, recommended that we consider a press statement which he announces to the world that he was trying to extract DNA from the sweat on the watch band recovered at the scene. It was on TV and written up in the news media, which then prompted the phone call the day after from an attorney to say, my client wants to talk to you about a watch. We threatened him with every criminal statute I could think of: burglary, child molestation, and homicide. That's when the story came out. He did claim that he had been recruited to assist in terrorizing Tammy. He was paid $4,000 in cash, and also he was the one who purchased the carpet cutting razor and filled up the Molotov cocktail of gasoline. His job was to pin her to the floor. He said that he bolted from the house once he realized there were children screaming in the bedroom. The Chastity had entered 30 seconds earlier.
Chastity was very cunning in her approach. The soda bottle was planted because she wanted to cast a similar type setting as the murder that took place in Hartford involving the Jamaican drug cartel.
It was disbelief that something like that can happen. And I just can't believe she did what she did, you know, over a man.
She wanted to get married to Arnold, and she wanted to move away to Atlanta. He said, no, my kids are here. Chastity was angry, so she needed to cut those ties between him and his children so they could live, in her mind, happily ever after.
It's hard to grasp that someone would have such an angst that they would do that to 2 children. First cousin used to babysit for the children, and then her unbelievable rationale that she would dispose of the 2 children so the father would be free to live in bliss with her. It's just hard to fathom. You just can't. You just, oh, what? You did what? Why? I hope everybody hugged their children that evening and told them they loved them. I don't know what else to say to that.
I was at the hospital with my daughter, Lindsay, and the chief of police came. and told me that they had arrested Chasity. I think the first thing I felt was a sense of relief, and then it turned into rage. I mean, obviously to lose my child was devastating, but to realize that somebody thought so little of him, as if no one cared about him. Do you know that you took a life, a real human being, a person that was loved, that I loved, and loved to infinity? Do you know the damage that you caused? Do you know that I'll never be the same? He'd be 28 right now. I remember dancing with him in the kitchen at our house in Windsor, saying, wow, you guys are gonna be older and teenagers pretty soon, and we were just dancing around the kitchen. I would love to dance with my son again. Love to give him a big hug and kiss. Oh boy, I could just, he could have been anything he wanted. I do forgive Arnold. I believe he carries a very heavy burden. I do forgive him. He's not the one who committed the murder. I'm no longer filled with rage. I don't think of her every day. I accept that she's made a life in prison. But do I forgive her? I say forgiveness is a process. And I'm still on that journey.
My name is Alexis Grajales.
Awesome. At this time, you may explain to the board why you believe that you are suitable for an absolute pardon.
Sure. First off, thanks for this opportunity. I don't want to minimize the effects of my actions at the age of 18. I'm very remorseful for those actions. I'm now a father myself, and I'm 42 years old, so being 24 years removed from, foolish adolescent actions, I obviously think differently. I've been in the mortgage industry for many years, almost 2 decades now, and my offense has kept me from being able to secure a license to be able to go further. Nonetheless, and despite that, and despite having a record, I'm a business owner, also a career man, and a family man, and I would genuinely appreciate the opportunity to live again and kind of put this behind me.
Thank you, Mr. Grajales. Parole Supervisor Brooks, who was I being visited by from the State's Attorney's Office?
Attorney Mambrino.
Attorney Mambrino, are you here? Good morning.
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Happy New Year.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you.
I have received the packet with respect to his pardon, and I applaud that he hasn't gotten in any trouble since he's been released from prison. The only thing that I'm curious about is he claims that he's been in the mortgage industry for 2 decades. I don't have any documentation that indicates that he isn't presently employed at this time. I hope he is, and I hope everything that he claims within this packet is in fact true. But I see no documentation with respect to anything that he claims, and that just that alone is concerning to the state with respect to this.
I can speak to that.
Hang on 1 minute. State Attorney, go ahead, ma'am.
So I again, I applaud him if in fact he is working. I know he wrote in here that he closed 2 businesses over the years. And I hope, in fact, he is a productive member of society. But again, there's no documentation with respect to any of this. And I asked on my FOI request if there was anything else contained within his application, but they wrote back to me and there was nothing. I have talked to the victim's parents with respect to this matter. And the victim advocate has a letter from the victim's mother that I believe she's going to read into the record. But I don't want this to just indicate that he was young and he made a mistake, but for his actions on that particular day. A 7-year-old boy would have grown up and would have been able to flourish, and a 2-year-old girl wouldn't have to live with this, and nor would the parents of these children. I did in fact speak to the father of these children also, and it was too painful for him to go back into this and relive this and even write a letter to the board because of how it upsets him. And I understand and I applaud that someone has changed their ways, and I understand that someone was young at the time. But again, he aided Chastity West in her effort to kill someone, a 7-year-old, and she tried to kill a 2-year-old also. She wasn't successful with respect to that. And because of his cooperation, which again, I thank him for, they were able to secure a conviction for Chastity West. But based on everything that I have in front of me, and I assume that you also had, the board has in front of them, I see no reason to give this particular individual a pardon. He's been able to work, he's been able to stay out of jail, and I think that it's important that when he goes for any other sort of a job or anything, that someone knows that he committed this horrendous crime, and they can make the decision whether or not this is the type of person that they want to hire. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. De Jesus.
Good morning, board members. I do have a statement, and it reads as follows. I have mixed feelings about Mr. Grajales' request for a pardon. His request surprised me, as the possibility that he might request one had never entered my mind. I do understand that when he broke into my house on July 9th, 1998, he never imagined that his accomplice would murder my 7-year-old son and attempt to murder my 2-year-old daughter. Nevertheless, this is what occurred. At the same time, I can't help but conclude that my daughter's life was spared because Mr. Grajales let me go and exited my home after hearing me plead that my children not be hurt. I am also thankful that Mr. Grajales was a cooperating witness and that his accomplice was held accountable for the horrific crimes she committed. 24 years and 6 months have passed since my son, Jarrell, was murdered. I have made strenuous efforts to heal, and the pain has been bearable with the passage of time. My daughter is doing well, but has not escaped the trauma that this ordeal has caused. As a family, we've worked to achieve emotional health by trying to let go of any anger and resentment. I am well aware that Mr. Grajales was very young when he committed this crime, inexperienced and lacking in wisdom and foresight. I hope and pray that he feels remorse in the role he played and that he has lived his life in a way that demonstrates this. Whether he should be pardoned or not, I defer that to the Board of Pardons and Parole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jesus, and thank the victim for their input, which clearly shows quite a bit of grace in such a horrible circumstance. And we appreciate victims' input, which can sometimes balance, what we're thinking, and input, obviously, from the distinguished state's attorney who joins us today. Ms. Chance, do you have any questions?
I do hear what Mr. Grajales is saying, but just in reviewing the information in terms of the crime, and yes, I know it was 24 years ago, but today I'm not certainly in favor of Mr. Grajales getting a pardon today. I know the victim's mother is still mourning the death of a 7-year-old who was an innocent person. And yes, he was, Mr. Grajales was 19 at the time, but I'm not in favor of a pardon today, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Chance. Ms. Zaccagnini.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate the victim, as a mother, the victim's ability to really see things clearly and see things for exactly what they are. You know, that he was young, and he clearly did not know what he was getting himself into, and was helpful in getting the prosecution of the woman who murdered the child. This was such a disturbing case to read, really was. And I do believe that Mr. Grajales had no idea what was going to happen when he entered that house. However, he had to know it was going to be illegal. Sir, you certainly, you weren't getting paid to be a Boy Scout, right? And to do good work. But I also believe that he has learned from this and has moved on and changed his life around. So I myself am torn, just as the victim is.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Zaccagnini.
Go ahead. I mean, I can certainly see both sides, and the victim didn't oppose or wasn't in favor, which is kind of where I stand, to be honest.
Right. Right. Yeah. In my own thinking, Mr. Grajales having accomplished what he's accomplished, and the victim not taking a stand, I would not be opposed to having him move further in his life. I think he's trying to do the right thing, and I mean, he was 18, and what we know now about that whole circumstance, which we deal with in our juvenile reconsideration hearings, etc. Yes. I would not be opposed to having him move forward with his life. Yeah.
And really, why continue this and have the victim come back again?
Absolutely, which is what, right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything further, Ms. Chance? You all set?
No, but I would go on the minority.
I understand. Regarding Alexis Grajales, the chair moves that he be granted a full and absolute pardon. Ms. Zaccagnini?
Aye.
Ms. Chance?
Nay.
The chair votes aye, in a majority decision, the pardon is granted. State's Attorney Mambrino, thank you for coming today. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for your time.